with great emotion that I stand before you today because today is a very important day in the history of ICMR, in the history of metabolic NCDs, including diabetes in this country, because for the first time we are going to release the metabolic health NCD health report of the whole country. I don't think such a thing has ever been attempted, and I'm very happy to present the results to you shortly. Let me take this opportunity to welcome Dr. R.S. Dhaliwal, Scientist G and head of the NCD division of the Indian Council of Medical Research. They come all the way from Delhi for this event. Dr. Tanvir Kaur, who looks after the diabetes division of the NCD, Scientist G at the Indian Council of Medical Research. Both of them have been associated with this project right from its inception in the year 2008. And believe it or not, it actually took us 15 years to complete the whole country. But now it's finally done, barring a few union territories and a few islands, which are now currently going on and about to be completed. But the whole mainland has now been, all the states in the country have been completed. I'd also like to welcome my good friend and colleague, Professor Ashok Kumar Das, who is the chairman of the expert committee of the ICMR for the ICMR INDIAB study. He has been very much part of the study from the beginning, from the last 15 years. And he has also, along with Dr. Dhaliwal and Dr. Tanvir Kaur, visited almost every state where this study is going, where study took place. Dr. Anjana is on the dais, and all of my colleagues from MDRF, a big welcome to you. A very special welcome to all the state PIs. We have 31 states, and all the state PIs are there in the Zoom call. It's very nice of them to all have joined for this momentous occasion when the final results of the ICMR INDIAB study is going to be released. And very, very big warm welcome and thank you to all the PIs who are joined virtually. The press and media, this is a press event, and we want to present all the results of India's NCD health burden to the press and media. A lot of you I know have come in person, and an equal number have joined virtually from different parts of the country. We have people from the press and media in Delhi, Mumbai, Pune, and many other, Bangalore, and many other cities who are actually on this call or on this Zoom call. So it's a very momentous occasion. I'll just take 5 minutes to explain to you what the study is all about so that we all come on the same page. And then after that, I'll request Dr. Ashok Kumar Das to say a few words. And if Dr. Dhaliwal and Dr. Tanvir Kaur want to say something, they can do that. And then we'll go to the main presentation by Dr. Anjana, where she'll present all the details. There's some startling results to present to you.
The great pleasure to announce India's metabolic health report card that has been published in Lancet Diabetes Endocrine just this morning. So this is a culmination of 15 years of work when you saw numerous people involved, support from the ICMR, and a whole lot of people have put their strength and might into this to produce the results that we have today. So let's move on directly to the diabetes burden first. What is the national prevalence of diabetes in India? It is 11.4%. The urban prevalence is 16.4% and rural is 8.9%. Now this has been done through OGTTs, which are glucose tolerance tests, capillary OGTTs done in about 113,000 individuals. That's 113,000 individuals done from nook and corner of the country. However, there are also internationally other methods of diagnosing diabetes. Those are through the A1C and other methods. So we also have prevalences that is done through the A1C criteria, the HbA1c, and a combination of the OGTT and A1C. Now in our country, the best method is the OGTT. Accepted method by the RSSDI and other national guidelines is the OGTT, and hence we have used that method for all estimations of burden calculations. However, if you use the A1C criteria, the prevalence goes up to 13%. And if you combine criteria, we have a combined national prevalence of 21%. 0.1%. So globally, these various criteria people look at. Now shown here are maps of the country. So this is urban India, this is rural India, and this is overall together. So here we have color-coded maps. Up to 5% prevalence is shown in green, and up to 7.4 is in yellow, up to about 10 is in orange, and above 10 becomes red. So if you look at urban India, this is diabetes prevalence. Almost the whole country is showing high prevalence of diabetes. This is urban India. If you go to rural, there's more heterogeneity. You'll see that higher prevalence in mostly in the south, some parts of the north as well, with lower prevalence in the east and some of the central parts of India. Now, if you combine that, look at the prevalence, diabetes prevalence highest in the south. All the south states are in red. And of course, we have Punjab, Uttarakhand, Delhi, etc. also in red with yellows here. So this is the diabetes prevalence. If you want a state-wise prevalence here, it goes from the lowest here, 4.8% in Uttar Pradesh to 26.4% in Goa. And I see the PI, Dr. Ankush Desai, also on this call. So yes, so you see this wide heterogeneity. India is diverse in everything. So naturally, even the diabetes prevalence has huge heterogeneity. There's one thing I also want to say before I go on to the pre-diabetes. So there always are lots of questions about the time frame that we have done the study in. Any epi study is generally reported within 5 years or so. But here in the 15-year period, you may ask, how can all the states be comparable? Now, for this particular problem, we've had to go to statisticians, and we have actually moved all the states to one time point, that is the year 2021, using the NFHS 5 demographics as the base population. All of the adjusted prevalences and weighted prevalences have been added to this population. So every number for every state that you see is the current reported prevalence, both urban and rural, for the state, and they are comparable across India. So that is diabetes. Now let's move on to pre-diabetes. Pre-diabetes prevalence is 15%. It's higher than the diabetes prevalence. But of note here is that there are almost no urban as well as rural differences. And this is of particular importance because, as we know, if you get pre-diabetes, then the conversion to diabetes is very, very fast. And in our population, a good number, more than 60% of individuals in the pre-diabetic state then end up having diabetes very soon, within a 5-year period. So if you see increases in rural pre-diabetes, what that means is that rural India is going to have a lot of diabetes in the upcoming years. And why that's even more significant is that 70% of India lives in her villages. So even a 0.5% or 1% increase turns out into an absolute number, burden, that is a catastrophic number if all of these people start converting. So pre-diabetes, if you notice carefully, it is the opposite of the diabetes. So where diabetes was high, pre-diabetes is low. What does that mean? People who had to convert have already converted. And where diabetes was low, do you remember the greens in the center here? So where diabetes was low, pre-diabetes is high. What does that mean? All these people are yet to convert, yet to get diabetes. So it's like a ticking time bomb here, where we have people ready to convert. So all those low prevalence states, if we repeat 5 years from now, we may have seen that everybody has converted. So this is the pre-diabetes prevalence of the country. Let's move on to obesity. This is generalized obesity as measured by a BMI. So here you have an overall prevalence of 28.6%, almost 40% prevalence, 40% prevalence in urban India. This is obesity, and 23% in rural parts of the country. But what is even more important in our country is abdominal obesity, because we know that Asian Indians have the Asian Indian phenotype, which involves, so they may have a normal BMI, but they have increased abdominal fat as measured by a waist circumference, and thus we are able to report on abdominal obesity. So as you can see, this number is even higher. So in urban areas, 1 in 2 people in urban India is obese. And now again, obesity is a pre-runner to diabetes. More obesity, more pre-diabetes, more diabetes. So that's on the causal pathway. So you have there, and 33% rural, over 40% of abdominal obesity overall. Hypertension. So we have 35.5% hypertension. Urban India is 40.7% and rural is 33%. Hypercholesterolemia, which is high blood cholesterol, it's 24% overall. Again, urban and rural, there's not too much difference, 27% and 22% rural. So these are the various metabolic NCDs and their prevalences across urban as well as rural parts of the country. Now this then turns into these estimated numbers of projected burden for the country. So we have earlier reported numbers in 2021 from the International Diabetes Federation Atlas was 74 million people with diabetes, but today the new numbers are a whopping 101.3 million people with diabetes in the country. Pre-diabetes is higher at 136, so this is going to feed into this, and this number is continuing to grow. Hypertension is over 300 million, 35% prevalence, 300 million people. Obesity is also reaching about 250, 300 million people, and hypercholesterolemia is also at 200 million. So this is to say that our numbers are continuously increasing. And why are we doing this? I've shown you the total numbers for the country as a whole, but we do have each of these state by state by state by state. And I think the story that we are telling today is that it's okay to show the increased numbers, but now it is time for governments to take notice that there is a problem and do something about this. Luckily, all interventions for all of these metabolic NCDs are similar. So trying to make state-specific interventions is the need of the hour in every state to prevent these numbers from further increasing and increasing the health burden of this country. So I'd like to summarize by saying that we now have robust estimates of all metabolic NCDs. There's an enormous burden. We have huge numbers increasing steadily over the last few years. There are also interstate and interregional variations. Urban areas have higher rates, but rural areas are catching up all over the country. These have multiple implications for planning policy and provisioning of healthcare in the country. Thank you very much.
Subscribe to Walgan Television.
Please subscribe Walgan Television.